Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Thursday. Hope you started the day well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. We are heading towards the weekend now, still basking in the glory of that 7-1 win in the Champions League on Tuesday night. It was very nice, wasn't it? Very nice to be able to sit back, watch the football last night, not really having to worry about what we're going to be doing in the second leg or anything like that. So most of the games are all still on pretty much a knife edge, but we're really, really nice position of and I say this thinking to myself, could we lose 6-0? No, we're not going to lose 6-0. Arsenal are through. I'm not going to talk myself out of it. I'm not going to fall into the trap of Arteta and the players and pretending that there's still something in this game. It is done. So we can just safely sit back and watch the rest of this round unfold, knowing that we will be going to Madrid one way or the other, whether that be against Real or Atletico is yet to be decided. So we will talk a little bit about Champions League. Mad night last night. Unbelievable game at PSG versus Liverpool. Still cannot believe Liverpool won that game. But we will talk about that to do a bit of a Champions League roundup. We're going to talk about what Mikel Merino has been saying. He's been talking about how he's adapting to his role as Arsenal's central striker. Lots of questions and comments from you guys as well. But I wanted to start today's show on the Cronkies and on Arsenal's decision to raise ticket prices again for next season. Now, they did this last season and they did it again now. The email dropping yesterday in my inbox, and I'm sure in lots of your inboxes, telling us that our season tickets will be going up next season. Mine will be going up 5% because I'm lower tier. It's 3%, I think it is, for the upper tier. Now, I'll give my thoughts on it. There are some good things in the announcement from Arsenal. I like the fact that they're keeping concessions, which is obviously a good thing because a lot of their rivals aren't. There's been big fallout from Manchester United deciding to scrap concessions. So they're keeping that. That is good. I like the introduction of a 19-match season ticket as well. So it's just for Premier League. If you want to opt out of the Champions League, you can, and that should put more tickets, make more tickets available for Red Silver members when the Champions League rolls around. So I like some of those additions. And I think, Arsenal have been very keen to stress that they've been talking to supporters groups in the build up to this announcement to gauge their opinion and have taken some of those ideas on board. So there are some good things in it. But ultimately, the headline is going to be the fact that Arsenal are rising season ticket prices again. And this is at a time when others haven't done that. Liverpool have announced that they're freezing their season tickets. Other clubs have announced recently that they're freezing their season tickets. Now, Arsenal, despite the fact that they raised them last season, they're doing it again. So that's basically in the last 2 years, my season ticket's gone up 10%. And I just think it's a big own goal, to be honest, from Arsenal and from KSE, because ultimately, obviously, this decision comes from the very, very top. So it's going to come from KSE. Yes, they'll be in discussion with everyone else at the club to think, but ultimately, the owners sign this off. I just think it's a big own goal. I thought it last season, but I especially think it this season to do it 2 seasons ago. Now, Arsenal say in their sort of statement that they announced it, they said, our priority is to continue competing at the highest level in all competitions and win major trophies. This requires investment in our teams in an environment where costs continue to rise. And so they're obviously pointing to the cost. Now, we know that Arsenal made a loss last season. Despite record revenues, they still made a loss last season. They announced that obviously pretty recently. So I get that. But the money that they're going to make from this season ticket rise, in the grand scheme of things, is pretty minimal when you look at where their revenue really does come from. So I just feel like at a time when, let's face it, we've all questioned what they've been doing in the transfer window for the last couple of years. There has been significant investment in transfer windows of late, but that has dried up in the last couple of years. Last summer they still spent money, but they brought a lot of money in. They obviously didn't spend any money this January. So club fans are already a little bit riled up the fact that the club kind of stood still on the pitch for the last season, and obviously they're counting the cost of that now with the players that they've got out and the fact that they didn't improve in an area that I think we all thought they needed to improve on. They took a bit of a gamble. They went relatively short. Arteta admitted it at the start of the season when he said they've got one of the smallest squads in the season. And so that's a club decision ultimately. And so to do that, know that fans are pretty wound up about it at the moment as it is. I'm just not sure, even if this is just an inflationary rise, which is described, I just don't think it really necessarily had to be done. You know, there was an easy PR win here for Arsenal to just freeze ticket prices. So we did it last season. We're not going to do it again this season. We're going to freeze them, and then we'll review it again at the end of next season. And they didn't do that, and I just think that is a little bit disappointing. I just think it's a bit of an own goal from the Cronkies. It's something that they didn't really need to do for ultimately what is going to be a pretty small amount of extra revenue going forward. The Arsenal Supporters Trust have sort of released a statement on this. This is what they had to say. The AST was very clear to the club, as were other AAB members, which is, I think, Arsenal Advisory Board members, that we are calling for the price of season tickets and matchday tickets to be frozen in line with the National Football Supporters Association campaign to stop exploiting loyalty. In recent years, Arsenal has seen its revenues increase greatly from both broadcast and commercial activity, while ticketing revenue has also increased as fixture lists have expanded and categorisation has increased. Just this week, the club reported a surge in total revenue from 467 million to 616 million. It is therefore frustrating that the average price is above inflation at 3.7%, with ticket holders in the lower tier facing increases of 5% and the upper tier 3%. Similar increases will apply to club level. Premier League clubs, including Brentford, Wolves, Liverpool, West Ham, have confirmed price freezes for next season. We are extremely disappointed Arsenal have not replicated this approach. We understand that costs are increasing across football, especially for wages and agent fees, but feel Arsenal and all Premier League clubs should be making greater efforts to control these pressures rather than relying on supporters to take the strain. The AST intends to place greater focus on highlighting the need for sensible cost control measures for over the next season. I think I do actually have that. If you want to read the statement, I have it there on the screen in front of you. And I agree with everything that they've said there, really. I just feel like this is a rise that didn't really need to happen this season. It just felt like there was an easy win here for Arsenal and for the owners. When it comes to, I don't even know what the increases is going to generate. I think I saw a figure like it's under 10 million, I think, which obviously 10 million is a huge amount of money. But to Arsenal, when you look at the revenues that they've got coming in, it's not absolutely massive. They could have easily followed suit with the likes of Liverpool, Brentford, Wolves. I mean, but the thing is, they know they're in a strong position. They know demand is incredibly high at the moment because the team is doing well, because they're competing at the top of the Premier League and competing in the Champions League. They know the demand for tickets is incredibly high. You know, when it was rubbish and the stadium was half empty just a few years ago before Arteta arrived, you know, ticket prices were being frozen right then because they knew the demand wasn't there. They had to do it. But right now they know that everyone wants tickets to Arsenal. And so they're probably in this position, well, let's take advantage of that. And again, I just feel that's a little bit disappointing. It's exploiting the loyalty of fans. They know we'll pay it. They know it will be done because, you know, I've been a season ticket holder since 1991, I think was my first season. Went back at Highbury and have never left that season ticket. Same goes to my dad. Same goes to so many people in the same position as me. They know we're not going to give up our season tickets because if you do that, you suddenly go to the back of the queue and, you know, you've got a 10-year wait to get another season ticket or whatever it is. So they know the people are going to pay it and they're in a position that they're going to have to pay it. But yeah, and it's not huge amounts of money. When you I think it's going to be an extra sort of 50 quid a season, 60 quid a season, whatever it is. So it's not massive amounts of money. I get it. But I just think it's disappointing. I think it's a really big own goal at a time when already fans, for the first time in a while, are pointing the fingers at the ownership and KSE and questioning, you know, their ambition, what they want to win, you know, how much money they're going to be spending, things like that. For them to throw this price rise in right now, yeah, a little bit disappointed, I have to say. But let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. If you, like me, are going to be impacted like this, are you happy to pay it or are you disappointed? Let me know your thoughts on it all in the comments below. Right, Champions League round-up time. Looking at the results of the round of 16 first legs there. Obviously, wins for Aston Villa, Real Madrid, Arsenal, of course. Dortmund and Lille drew 1-1 in Germany. Inter Milan winning yesterday 2-0 against Robin Van Persie's Feyenoord. Liverpool somehow winning in Paris 1-0 yesterday. Bayern Munich cruising against Leverkusen. A couple of goals for Harry Kane in that one. And Barcelona, what an impressive win that was for them. 10 men for so long in that game against Benfica, but Rafinha once again scoring. Lovely goal that was from him as well to give them a 1-0 win to take back to Spain. So it was a really good night. I watched the Liverpool game and just genuinely the biggest smash and grab you'll ever see in football history. Pretty much unbelievable performance from Alisson. yesterday. That just shows the quality, the strength of having a top quality goalkeeper is something like that. I mean, Liverpool could have been out of the competition today. Such was Paris's dominance and the quality of some of the chances that they had yesterday. And had it not been for Alisson, Liverpool, they'd certainly be facing one of those second leg mountain to climb type nights at Anfield, which we've seen them come through before in Europe, obviously. Think back to the 4-0 against Barcelona not too long ago. But you look at the match stats there, 28 shots for Paris Saint-Germain, 2 for Liverpool, 9 on target for Paris, 1 on target for Liverpool, which was obviously Harvey Elliott's goal right at the end. It's just unbelievable. The passes, the possession, it was such one-way traffic. And somehow, in keeping with Liverpool's season this season, they found a way to win. It's mightily impressive. You can call it lucky, you can call it whatever, but it's mightily impressive that they managed to hang on and they managed to win yet again. Paris will be kicking themselves. Absolutely. I don't think this tie is over by any means. Paris are going to create chances at Anfield. I've got no doubt about that. So I would not say Liverpool are guaranteed to go through, but obviously they're in a really, really strong position. And this could well be the team that Arsenal, if they get through in Madrid in the quarterfinals, will be facing potentially one of these teams, whoever goes through. Because I think the winner of this tie will play Aston Villa in the quarterfinals as well. So obviously there is strong Arsenal interest in this side on this part of the draw. And at the moment it's looking like Liverpool. But yeah, I wouldn't rule out Paris yesterday. Paris are a completely different team to the team we saw against Arsenal at the start of the season, aren't they? I mean, Arsenal won that game at the Emirates so comfortably. They kept Paris at arm's length all day. I know Dembele wasn't playing, and Dembele at the moment is just a driving force behind this sort of resurgence that we're seeing from Paris over the last few months, certainly since its comeback win against Manchester City. But the pace and the movement that they showed yesterday, they didn't have any of that at the Emirates. Arsenal was so strong and physically imposing against Paris. They barely got a kick. But they were brilliant yesterday in everything but scoring a goal. And Alisson, 9 saves. Alisson made wonderful performance from him. Definitely the star of the round for me. I think Martin Odegaard's up for player of the round of this round. But Alisson surely, absolutely wins this one because that was a sensational match-winning performance from him. Right, back to Arsenal now, obviously, and the players have got a little bit of time to sort of prepare for the Manchester United game. Obviously, on Sunday, United playing tonight. When I can't even, they've got Sociedad, I think, tonight, haven't they? So we could get a good view of Martin Zubimendi in that game. It's away in Spain as well, so United have got a couple of extra days. Arsenal, have got a couple of extra days to prepare than Man United have. United have got to travel back from Spain as well. So for once, Arsenal seem to get a bit of an advantage with the European games this week. Not too many decisions, I would suggest, facing Mikel Arteta for this one. I'd be very, very surprised if we see too many changes unless there's any sort of injuries that we don't know about. Maybe the left-back situation is one to consider, but I think he'll start with Lewis Skelly again. I really think Calafiori at the moment is a very, very strong impact player. Arsenal don't have many players at the moment on the bench who can change things in an attacking sense, and I think Calafiori can do that, and I think he's quite very, very useful option on the bench right now. Mikel Merino, you think, is going to continue up front, and he has been speaking, Mikel Merino, about his role and adjusting to life as Arsenal's new number 9. He was speaking after the game against PSV when, of course, he scored again. So that's 3 goals in 4 games for Merino since he's made the move up top, the 2 against Leicester and then the 1 in PSV. Lovely finish, that one against PSV. Yes, it was horrendous defending from PSV, but I thought it was a very good finish from Merino. Really calm, just bent it into the far corner. So this is what he had to say about sort of his new role at Arsenal in the absence of Kai Havertz or Gabriel Jesus. Where is it? Here it is. I'm trying to adapt. I'm trying to do the best way possible. Obviously, some days will be better, some days will be worse, but the work is there every day, the grind. I'm trying to improve every single day in my new position. I'm trying to help the team. I've been talking with the analysts, the boss as well. I pride myself on trying to understand what happens on the pitch, not only in my position as a number 8, but also other positions of my teammates. I think understanding what happens on the pitch in other situations also helps you in your role. So I kind of understand what a striker has to do in this team. Now, one thing about Merino, he's a very, very clever footballer. He's very switched on. And I think that does help when you're trying to learn a new position. He's done fine, I think. I think the one game where he really, really struggled was the West Ham game. Obviously, that was his first start in the position. He'd come on against Leicester. Everyone thought he was the saviour. That was never going to be the case. I'd spoken in the build-up to that West Ham game that I was worried about the difference of starting a game, and he struggled in that one. But everyone struggled. It was just a really dreadful, dreadful Arsenal performance. I thought he was much better against Nottingham Forest. I thought he played well at Forest, and I thought he was fine against PSV as well. Obviously got his goal. And, he does not stop working for the team. And I do think he's a very clever player. He gets into really clever positions as well. So he's doing fine. Like he says, there'll be good days and there'll be bad days because he's not a striker. Yes, I would much prefer to have Kai Havertz up there or a Gabriel Jesus up there, but we don't have that at the moment. And I think he's doing a good job, Mikel Merino. I think that sort of football brain that he's got and that he talks about there is certainly helping him. And as he says, he's talking to the analysts and Mikel Arteta and the coaching staff constantly to try and get a better sort of vision in his head of what he has to do. But I think he'll continue against Man United. I'd be very surprised if we see any changes in terms of the forward department. Just before I get into your questions and comments, Joshua Kimmich was speaking after Bayern Munich's win yesterday, obviously 3-0, as I said earlier. Harry Kane getting a couple of goals, Musiala scoring as well. Kimmich was talking about his future in the mix zone after that game. We know that Arsenal are believed to be a club who are interested in Kimmich. PSG seem to be at the front of the queue, though, if he decides to leave Bayern Munich. And speaking after the game yesterday, Kimmich says, other clubs play a role in my decision on the future. I won't mention which clubs, but there will be a decision soon. So it doesn't sound like I'll have to wait too long to find out where Joshua Kimmich is going, if he's going anywhere. I still feel that he'll end up staying at Bayern Munich. But, if if PSG have offered him a contract as well, a free transfer contract, I would predict that is going to be far more lucrative than any contract that Arsenal may have offered him or may be planning to offer him anyway. So I'm not surprised that it's certainly in Germany it's viewed that PSG are in pole position should he end up leaving Bayern Munich, because I think it's very hard for Arsenal to compete financially when it comes to offering contracts with PSG. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and comments now before we wrap this one up today. Richard, these are both sort of in terms of the second leg, I think, of the PSV game. Richard said, hi, it's Charles on the return leg for PSV. Do you reckon Arteta will heavily rotate and rest players? You could tell the break benefited the team before the PSV game. Mason says, hi, Charles, do you think Arteta will make wholesale changes for the second leg? Surely we bring in Jorginho, Zinchenko, Kivior, Tierney, Neto. Also, I think the Champions League format should reward the team who finished higher in the table by deciding the home game second leg on if you finished higher in the table than your opponent. Slightly unjust that Madrid teams get the advantage against us, even though we finished higher. I don't know how long you can do that for. Obviously, you get that advantage in this leg, the one we're playing now, which is why we've got the second leg against PSV at home. I don't think you can really carry on that advantage to the quarterfinals. I think that's going a little bit too far. But in terms of, wholesale changes for the second leg, surely he does. He's not going to go full strength against that. I know that all the build up to the game will be, the job's not finished. We've got to be professional. And I agree that is the case. They've got to be professional, but he's also got to make changes. Those players that you've linked there, surely Neto starts in goal for that game. Zinchenko, Tierney, Kivior, absolutely. Jorginho, absolutely. Could we see a youngster play? I was a bit disappointed he didn't bring on a youngster with about 20 minutes to go away from PSV. I know that Nathan Butler-Adéji does not really have a future at Arsenal, and the likelihood he's going to be released at the end of the season. But, just kind of reward him for the 6 or 7 games he's now sat on the bench without playing any minutes. And he had a good opportunity to do that against PSV. I was a bit disappointed he didn't throw him on in that game. I know there's other senior players that you feel like you've got to give minutes to off the bench just because they're senior players, but there was a good opportunity there. And I hope we at least see someone like Nathan or Sego Jr. or someone like that, Cabia, get some minutes in that second leg. If it's not from the start, then certainly from the substitutes bench, because you don't get in this position very often where you can you basically get a free hit on a game, and Arsenal have got a free hit on a game, and I imagine Ben White will start, for example, that game. We haven't seen Ben White start yet since he's come back for injury. That's a perfect opportunity. So I think he'll come in for that. And also Timber's got on a yellow card. So you don't want to even give the opportunity of Timber to get a second yellow card and potentially miss the first leg of the Real Madrid game as well. So I think he will heavily rotate, no doubt about it. Abisham says, hey, Charles, love your content. Thank you. Which team would you prefer Arsenal to face in the quarterfinals, Real or Atletico? Given the playing styles, Madrid might allow us more space to attack, while Atletico would likely be more compact and tough to break down. What are your thoughts? I was thinking about this a lot yesterday, who I'd prefer. And I really don't know. I mean, I don't. Real Madrid are better than Atletico Madrid. So obviously you think, well, you want to play Atletico Madrid, but we know how much Arsenal struggle against teams that stay compact, are defensively very strong, who can play the dark arts really well. And Atletico are all of those things. But Atletico, they're not just about that. They've got fantastic attack as well. They score plenty of goals. So it's a toss of a coin, really, for me. You know, I've never been to the Bernabeu. I really want to go to the Bernabeu. I've been to Atletico Madrid. I saw us lose the semi-final there a few years back in the Europa League when Diego Costa scored. So from a purely selfish, personal point of view, probably I favour a trip to the Bernabeu next. So I don't know. I don't really have a preference, I have to say. I think both are going to be equally as difficult. I do think it'll be a more open game against Real. It'll probably be a more enjoyable game. But, would you ever choose voluntarily to come up against a team with an attack of Rodrigo, Vinicius, Bellingham, and Mbappe? Probably not. So from that point of view, maybe Atletico Madrid, but I don't really have a preference, I have to say. Right, here's one from Nostradamus. He says, give the video 3,000 plus likes and maybe we can tempt Charles not to go to Madrid. On a side note, I'm eagerly anticipating my biggest game of the season will win at Old Trafford. Do you reckon we'll play with the exact same 11 on the day? I do think we'll play. Unless there's any sort of injuries. Maybe he might make a change at left back. Maybe. But no, I think he'll probably go with the same team that started. And Dean says, for once, the fixture timing is working in our favour of us playing Tuesday and United away in Europa on Thursday. I really hope we turn up and give them a pasting their awful side deserves. But we all know they will park a giant bus and look what they did and look to do what West Ham did and nick something. I don't think United will park a bus. I don't think they can park a bus. I don't think that they've got midfield for it, and I don't think they've got defence for it. So I'd be very surprised at home at Old Trafford if they park a bus. I think it'll be an open game, and hopefully Arsenal will be able to exploit that like they did against PSV. I don't see this United team being able to park the bus. I don't think they will anyway. I don't think Arenal will send them out with those tactics to do that, to be honest. Vet Para says, Zinchenko finally playing in midfield. What have you made of it? I think he's done fine. He was unlucky not to score against PSV. Really would have been a lovely goal. That great touch, lovely volley. Keith made a great save. Somehow was given us a goal kick. I think he's done fine. I don't think he hasn't blown me away. He hasn't made me think, he has to start in that position. But I think as a substitute coming on in the second half, he's been very neat and tidy, which he is. He's a very neat and tidy player. So what have I made of it? I think it's been fine. It hasn't been spectacular. I haven't been blown away by it, but I like the fact that we are seeing him being used in that area. And he's done some nice things when he has played in that role. And finally, James here says, calling all Gooners, someone get Charles a tea time in April. He absolutely positively cannot refuse to go to the Madrid match. Perhaps a complimentary USA trip to Augusta National. Our Stan and Josh members. Just keep him away for the away at either the Bernabeu or the Metropolitano. A family trip to Augusta and or Harbour Town. Maybe both. Somebody step up to tea. I tell you what, someone manages to get me a tea time at Augusta pretty much at the exact same time that the Masters is going to be on, then I will happily not go to Madrid. I will bow to your demands and not go to the second leg. So yeah, get me a tea time at Augusta, maybe the week after the Masters. I can't remember what date the Masters can't be. It must be about 3-4 weeks away now. So yeah, Harbour Town, yeah, I'll take that. Pebble Beach, maybe. That'll do. Sawgrass, any one of those ones. Get me a tea time over there. Fly me out. And yes, I will happily not go to Madrid. I'm going to Madrid, people. Accept it. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance, but I'm going to go to Madrid. I haven't booked my flights yet, so still a chance something might happen, but I'm 99.9% certain I'm going to Madrid. So prepare yourselves. I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. Thank you for watching, everyone. Appreciate it as always. Thank you for listening. Of course, if you're listening on podcast, remember, if you do watch this on YouTube and you haven't followed it as a podcast and get it downloaded to your phone, you can do that. All your usual podcast platforms, you can listen to this as well. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.